The following program is brought to you by Naleo TV, the People's Platform.
Mu'u is a style of dress that originated here in Hawaii and has changed and evolved over time.
It is a Hawaiian style of dress, and they can be practical things you can wear every day or very, very elegant.
The definition of what a mu'u is, I'm going to venture to say is perhaps evolving, is so up to different people about in terms of how they each define what a mu'u is, to them and their understanding of its connection with history and, Hawaiian culture. And I was going to say it's a woman's garment, but it's funny. It was supposed to be in the exhibit, but it wasn't ready in time. But my grandfather actually had a mu'u. He had a Betty Kane mu'u, or Kane mu'u by Betty. And yeah, so exclusively for women? I don't know or think so.
The idea for the show came about because the last show we had 2 years ago, folks were coming into my office and telling me these stories. And so one woman came in really overwhelmed with emotion and was just telling me how much it reminded her grandmother and how beautiful it was. And so that was some of the impetus to start this show or do this and collect the stories from the community and have other folks from the community share their mu'u. And so that was one thing that sticks out from the previous show. And then from this exhibit, there was one woman who had a wedding dress in here, which was neat. Somebody whose mother wore it while she was hapai with her. Oh, one that I really liked was a woman who was inspired to start making her own mu'u by, she was showing something to someone, to Auntie Michelle from Hanaho, and Auntie Michelle was like, you can make that, and so now she makes mu'u, I think full time, but it's one of the ones in the exhibit, so it's neat to see modern mu'us being made as well.
In this exhibit is my grandmother's mu'u that she made for my aunt back in the 60s when my aunt was at Waialoa High School. And oh boy, she gifted it to me when I was hapai with my daughter, and I wore it when I was hapai with my daughter. So for me, it was so special because, to begin with, because it had that connection to so many generations of women in my family. My grandmother made it, then my aunt wore it, I wore it. Technically, my daughter kind of wore it while she was in me, but it'll also be passed down to her and for generations to come. And so, to be connected through time and space through this mu'u is just so special. But I think also just seeing it in this exhibit and I'm very much honored in this way, and watching people read the story behind the mu'u and also appreciating it, other people who love mu'u and reading the story and enjoying it just brought me to tears because it was so beautiful that I could see my grandmother's work honored in that way, and not just her work, but just I guess connected to her, or connection to her, and that, yeah, so I'm very biased. But I love all the mu'u in this exhibit, and I haven't even had a chance to look at them all. I'm so excited to see them all. There's one in particular, I personally have an affinity towards anything with an ulu print on it because I love ulu in so many ways and so many reasons. But but there's this green one with yellow ulu print by Waialoa, and it's just so beautiful. It's kind of a dream dress for me. But yeah.
It would be hard to say that there's a favorite, but there's one that I would love to have. It's a green organza muumuu, and I think it's probably for a special occasion.
There is a red 1950s like Shaheen that's just looks really fun to wear. It's like slim and off the shoulder and has like the frill at the bottom, so it just looks really fun. Not the style I normally would wear, but it looked really beautiful.
I don't know if I can narrow it down to a favorite. They're all amazing, especially this year because people submitted their own mu'us and submitted and shared their own stories. So I think they're all beautiful. They all weave together such a beautiful grouping of mu'u and people, and it really reflects what Hilo is about.
Honestly, like in terms of favorite mu'u, I mean, it's tough. I feel like it's a must to come on this first night because favorite mu'u is on all of the people who came in wearing mu'u, you know, and that was an exhibit in itself. And, you know, it was so wonderful to just see so many people like dressed in their mu'u best, and to just like be in company with other people who just love mu'u in the same similar way, or for whatever reasons people have, right?
One of the takeaways that I'd love for this is just thinking about where clothes come from. One of the things I love about mu'u is that they're part of their popularity, or when they were super popular, was when there was so much clothing being made here in Hawaii, and as that has changed over time, our clothes are like were for a while less representative of this place, and that's changing with all these new designers, which is really exciting. But it'd be neat for folks to kind of think about that a little bit, like when they were all made here in Hawaii and what that was like.
My biggest takeaway from this exhibit every year is probably how so many women can connect to a garment, and it has nothing to do with the actual dress. It's more about memories and experiences, and how something tangible can really touch somebody and span generations, really. And it's so nice to have that, especially in Hilo, in such a beautiful town like Hilo.
I think a big thing for me, like I've always been a thrifter, and there's one mu'u in this exhibit that says it was from Hilo Goodwill in the 1990s, and I'm so bummed that I wasn't there. Because you know, that's one of the things that I look for when I go to the thrift store is mu'u, you know, but just like a deep appreciation for not the latest and greatest thing, right? Like a deep appreciation for the hands that make, you know, these garments, and what it takes to make these garments. There's a mu'u in here made by Heather Christensen that she made, I think, for this show. And you know, like she's all about slow fashion and really honoring that process for so many reasons. But I think it's really important to honor that. I think these garments can inspire like other garments from not landing in a landfill, you know, or ending up in a landfill. And I think, you know, these are the types of garments that would not end up in a landfill because they hold so much beauty and history and stories, you know, and they would not find themselves in a landfill, right? But there's so many garments that do have a lot of beauty and promise, or ways that you can, you know, bring them to life again, right? I think that was the thing where, like, in this exhibit, like, there's so many garments that were somehow seem to have been brought to life with their stories and with sharing them with so many people. And honestly, every garment has that, right? Every garment has that journey. And, you know, if we just kind of honored like our own wardrobe of clothes that we already have, or, you know, like wardrobe or clothes that already exist in the world, instead of making, you know.
I would say number one thing to come and visit is to appreciate a garment that is uniquely Hawaii and to listen to folks' stories like connected to that garment.
The exhibition has so many different vintage and modern muumuu, and they have wonderful photographs of women wearing the muumuu. It's not to be missed. It's rare that you're going to see such a collection of gorgeous muumuus in any one place.
The mu'u exhibit especially is just such a great community-based exhibit. It's people that don't know each other contributing to a shared thought and a shared love of mu'u, of aloha, and of Hawaii, really. So if that's not a good reason, I don't know what is.
Huge thank you to the community that did show up and like share their stories. You know, they shared pieces of their own history, and I think that can be a little scary sometimes to share it with the rest of the community, but it's neat to hear folks' histories and hear special moments of them and special people. And so I thank everybody that participated.
I just got chicken skin thinking about all like the time and like love that people have put into all of these garments. Thank you to Emily and Auntie Michelle and everybody who put on the exhibit itself, everyone who donated a mu'u or made a mu'u, everyone who, or you know, shared a mu'u with the public, everyone who made a mu'u in the first place, like all of the designers and crafters of these beautiful garments.
I want to mahalo anybody who loves mu'u. Anybody who is reviving mu'u culture, connecting it to Hawaii, and taking care of and wearing their garments. There's a lot of people see mu'us and they're like, I don't know where I'm gonna wear this. It's too fancy. Or, oh, I don't wanna. You can wear a mu'u anywhere. I wear a mu'u to go to the bank. You don't need a reason to wear a mu'u. And I think if it makes you feel beautiful, and I think that is enough currency to share aloha in a much wider way than just wearing. You feel good, and that shows in everywhere you go and what you do. So wear your mu'u.